All right, this is the next in our series of starting a project in Revit in the Beck template. From last time, you can go back and watch it if you haven't. We set up our levels for this project, removed the ones we didn't need, and now I want to talk to you about the phases in the Beck template. If you go up to your Manage tab, Phases, you will notice that there are 6 phases in the Beck template. The first 3 are pre-project phases. These are phases we use to create legend content or any 3D details that you may want to model, but they are divorced from your actual model. So things like mock-up walls, project signs, anything like that, flashing details. I'll show you some examples in a minute. And we have our standard Beck legend content is generated here. So it's very important you don't rotate your project north, and it's otherwise some of the views will get messed up that are on your sheets. And let me just start to show you what these things are. So the annotation 1 phase is for anything that is existing that you want to show existing in a legend view. Annotation 2 phase is for all other things that you want to show in a legend. Our door panels, our door frames, railing types, material samples, anything that you want to show a graphical legend from that goes here. And then everything that you've put in those annotation 1 and 2 phases needs to be set to demoed in the annotation phase. So let's look at an example of all this stuff. So from a 3D view, we will switch our phase from phase 1 to annotation 1. And you're only going to see a few things here. These are just some existing walls that are part of our legends in the past, non-healthcare. What these are, if you look at our legend sheets, these are the existing walls shown in these views. So the benefit of putting content in the annotation phase is the legend phase in Revit is lacking. It can't do all the things that we want a legend to do, and that becomes more apparent when you talk about door elevations and things like that. There are views. If you switch your Beck template to standard, you'll see that there's planned legend views. So here you can see that's where you're going to put your material legends. This is set to annotation phase 2. This is all, I'll go back to the 3D view so you can see all the stuff that's in here. So if we were to then switch to annotation 2, you'll see all the stuff that is comes with the Beck template. We've got our door panel types, and the elevations are generated from these. If we were to select on one of those, you would see that it was created in the annotation 2 phase and demoed in the annotation demo phase. So it's kind of a play space for you to put anything you want to create elevations, sections, plans of, without it showing up in your project or being floating off in space somewhere in your project. So those are the phases. You can see, so if you were going to edit and add more railing types here, you would place it in plan here. You'd create a legend elevation, and you see we do have, and you would place that on a sheet, and you would just make sure that whatever guardrail you have, again, that it's been demoed by the demo phase, and then it will not show up anywhere. Let me show you some examples of some other stuff that we might put into a demo phase. I switched over an annotation phase rather. So here's our mock-up wall drawing for this project, and you can see this 3D view. All the content in here is created in that annotation 2 phase and annotation demo phase. So you're able to model something in greater detail than you would in your actual model. I mean, maybe it's not in greater detail, but it's able to have, it's not going to show up in your model or your schedules. And that's another good thing to know, that whatever you put in this annotation phase will not, as long as you do demo it in the annotation demo phase, it will not show up in your 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 schedules. So anyway, that's pretty cool. Just wanted to show you an example of different things you might think of doing in this annotation phase. And that's all. One last tip on phases that sometimes, and I don't know why Revit does this, but since we have a phase 2 in the project, which would be potentially for future work, if you go and you create a new schedule, just beware of this. Let's make a quick schedule. We'll just make a multi-category schedule. When you create it, it defaults to the last phase in your project. So you typically need to change this to phase 1, or you'll be like, hey, why doesn't anything show up in my schedule? This is the reason. So that's all for phases right now. Thanks for listening.